Good afternoon, everyone. This is Duran over at Alpha 7 Trading Academy, here with another recap. It is Wednesday, February 8th, 2017. Today I took a total of 3 trades, got 2 winners, 1 loser, and decided to call it a day early. The market opened up once again, pretty tight here. As you can see, the 15-minute Bollinger Bands have been in consolidation, so has the 60-minute for the past 3 days right now since the beginning of the week. And only until around 11 o'clock has the SPY been able to expand on the 5-minute chart. But before that, there wasn't really much action going on, and it was very hard to find some opportunities that looked like that had great probability. So the first trade we took was GM. I called it out in the room about 5 minutes earlier than when it triggered. It triggered at 9:49. So let me put these charts back here so we could actually go over this here. So this setup and trade setup was alerted, and the reason why it was alerted, the reasoning behind it, was based on the 1 and 5 minute chart. The 15-minute chart and the 60-minute chart didn't really have much value, although the 60-minute did have a possible continuation to go lower without breaking the mid-BB. So the setup occurred right at the entry of 34.85s, 34.84s, the low of this green candle. So it was holding the 5 MA. We had it, the 1 minute, bounce off the mid-BB, retract, and then at the same time simultaneously break out, giving us a little bit of a move. And I took a partial at, I'll tell you right here, at 75s, and then the rest was left for a partial of about 200 shares. And this, by the way, was a total of 600 share value. So with that being said, I was only able to accumulate $22. All right, not much for that trade, but I was looking for a bigger move, which never occurred. So the next trade after that was CVX. Now, times, and the people who take my education are in the room understand that I have some unorthodox styles. And the reason for that, the only way I could explain is when someone has been looking at charts and setups for so long, sometimes your eye just picks up on something that your subconscious brain has seen so many times that it just becomes aware. So this is one of these setups. Although it did have my initial setups, one of my rules is I'll never get into a setup unless it has some type of setup that I normally go off of. But there were a lot of compensating factors that didn't really look good for this stock, for the move. But at the end, I took it anyway, due to being able to have some insight due to, watching the markets for a long time. So this trade was taken at 9:55, also called earlier. However, I made a mistake. It was a brain fart. I called out CVS to the room instead of CVX, and a few people didn't catch on to it and missed it, and that was my mistake. But anyways, let's move forward. So at 9:55, we had an expansion. So we had a huge tightening here, compression. Not much really going on since the morning until the trigger of my entry. And what I was looking for was an expansion, a possible or potential expansion to the downside. And as you can see, I did get that expansion, because what happens is Bollinger Bands, Bollinger Bands, you don't really need Bollinger Bands to understand contraction and expansion, but it definitely helps illustrate what's going on. So you could see that prior to the expansion, you had a huge contraction. So what's going to happen? Inevitably, it's going to have to expand. Now, it could either expand to the upside or the downside. I don't know. But through my setups, I was able to define that it looked like it wanted to move lower, especially with the stochastics moving down at this moment of time. And also the 1 minute. So let me get to the 1 minute here, which was 9:55. So you can see here, exactly at 9:55, I had contraction, and it could not break the mid-BB. It had a lot of trouble trying to break through the mid-BB until it finally gave up, peaked, and went down, crossed down at the same time as the 5-minute stochastics, giving us an entry and letting us use the 1 minute to be able to take this puppy down. Now, the covers that I took on this and the amount of shares were 600 shares short at $110.90. All right. Sorry. Yep, $110.90. And then covered at 110.72, 100 shares. Then 110.65, 100 shares. Then 110.44 at 100 shares. Then 110.48 for another 100 shares. And the remaining was at 110.52. All right, so I was able to get a nice squeeze out of this and actually make more than 2 times my risk. My risk for each trade is $100. I made $221 on this. So, very good trade. Definitely great compared to the previous trade. Now, I wanted to see if I could continue to build onto my profits. However, yesterday I took a loss of about $170, $180. I'm not sure off the top of my head, just around that level. And I was up around $240 before NP. So before I was down that, I wanted to know, just in case I take this next trade, I want to be able to make sure that I close up green enough to be able to eliminate the losses that I had the day before. Now, this is very important. I don't know how many people actually teach this, but risk management is more than 50% of trading consistently, okay? And you're gonna understand why. So, I took a loss yesterday of about $180, right? Now, I was up $240, and I wanted to see if I could continue to build profits, which is fine, right? I'm up 2 trades back-to-back, making money. It looks like I'm finding some good setups. So I decided to continue. With that being said, I wanted to make sure that if the next trade didn't work, that I locked in enough profits to be able to cover my losses for yesterday. And this is imperative because I'm controlling how much I'm losing, and I'm also controlling my consistency. How much consistency do I want to get out of it? And due to this, we're going to go to the next trade, which was NP. And some people say that it wasn't good, and I see the reasons for it, but the risk to reward scenario for this was just too good for me to let off. So anyways, we had a 3-lane, and what a lane means is a time frame. So lane equals a time frame. So I had 3 time frames producing setups at the same time. And this happened at the entry was NP at 1,000 shares at 11.11, and mind you, 1,000 shares, cutting my risk in half because my risk was only 6 cents in terms of a stop. And I know some people don't like that, but this is how I trade and it works. So with that being said, 1,000 shares, half risk. So that way, the most I am taking in terms of a loss is $60. I already know how much I'm taking a loss of, and even more so, I'm prepared to take that loss. So emotionally, I won't be screwed. I know at the end of the trade that that's what was going to happen, and I'm okay with it. Okay, it helps a lot with eliminating impediments and emotional instabilities. So the setup occurred. I got in at 12.58. All right, I got in 12.58, breaking this candle right here. Okay, at 10.45. No. Sorry, at 11.11. Okay, which was at the end of this one. Yes. Okay, so at this candle, once it broke this red candle, that's where I entered. Not only that, but the 5-minute was flattening completely. However, the issue that a lot of people had with this setup, and they have the right to say it as well, and I was aware of it, is that it was tightening. And while I was trying to get into this setup, the 5-minute Bollinger Bands were tightening, which means that it was compressing, and maybe NP is looking to just consolidate and not really break out or break down. However, I really liked that the 200 MA was above my price. I had the 15 MA above my price. I had the 5 MA above my price. And the 1 minute looked really good as well in the beginning to expand and help with this. So 11, just to put it into perspective. right? So it pushed up a little bit and then went back down. And it was playing around, man. I mean, 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes before it finally stopped me out, where it went up 2 to 3 times to a level where I could have got out above my entry price for 1 or 2 cents. But that's not what I was in it for. I was in it for the big move. And with a possible big move, 3 lanes being able to extend higher could have possibly gave me a very, very nice move. However, at the same time, all the stochastics were above the 80 band, which means that it's really extended. But that doesn't mean that it can't continue to push upwards, in which in our education we call a lean. And there are ways to signify leans and to check or gauge whether it's strong enough to continue to its upside, which I thought it would. Unfortunately, it didn't, and I had to close up with a $60 loss. And after 2 wins, 1 loss, I closed up with $183. So I hope you guys enjoyed for today's recap, and stay tuned for the next ones. If you have any questions on how I evaluate my setups or the conditions for the setups in order for it to work out or to trigger, let me know. If you want a free trial, we do that too. And that's about it. So stay tuned for the next recap, and thank you for chiming in. Have a great day.